Welcome all to the 2025 mock draft. It's been a while since we've graced your screens, but we're ready to delve into a nice big mock here, Mike. Always a great time of the year for us, this one.
Yeah, I always enjoy this mock draft. It's fun. Gives us an opportunity to run through some possible scenarios. It's in a draft class this year that's as um, sort of got a diverse range of opinions on it as possible. That I've ever seen really on different players. So it'd be interesting to see what we come up with here. Although some of the mock drafts I've seen, the top 10 and seem to be quite chalk. They all go for a similar thing. So I don't know if that'll be the case for us, but I guess we'll see here.
Yeah, all 32 picks. We're going to get through it. About should be about an hour and a half. A couple trades in there maybe, but yeah, let's get it rolling.
Yeah. So we're going to do a couple of minutes each, aren't we? You're taking the odds, which means you're up first with Tennessee.
Yeah,
And I'll be taking the evens. So I'll trust the shit I'll share the trusty PFF mock draft simulator here. So you can see we've got all the teams selected. We'll just go into this.
excellent.
And yeah, officially the 2025 over under NFL draft is now open. Dun, 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 dun.
Excellent. Thank you for the music as well. It really gets me in the frame of mind there. And I'm the Tennessee Titans. I'm running in Cam Ward here with pick number one. This is about as unanimous as you can get. No need to go into too much detail, but yeah, good throw of the ball. Really like the way he can rip the footy. Had a nice, very good senior year there at Miami. Um, Probably the best pure passer in this draft. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that. Not the most mobile. My only concern with him is playing in an NFL offense and diagnosing NFL defenses. Really a true spread guy throughout his college career down at Houston and then at Miami. So yeah, they've got to have a plan for him. Really, you can't be drafting him. Just put him under center in a West Coast offense. It's not going to work.
Yeah, obviously he did transfer to Miami this year, but he actually started at Incarnate Ward, Tom, as
Oh my goodness!
a zero,
Whoa!
a zero-star recruit coming out of high school. He's turned himself into a hell of a player.
Yeah,
Extremely rotational thrower, very low. You'll see if you ever watch him play in the NFL, very low arm action. Comes out almost sidearm some of the time. So that's for some teams. Some teams won't like that. It'll be he's a playmaker. I think he's more mobile than certainly than some other quarterbacks in this draft that we might talk about later.
mm,
But he's just fast enough to get away from people, but he's always looking to throw. Very sort of I'd say more like Mahomes, Kyler Murray kind of style,
yeah,
more escaping, looking to throw. Not as athletic as Kyler Murray, but that type of sort of playmaker rather than trying to a young Russell Wilson rather than trying to run down the field like a Jaden Daniels or a Anthony Richardson. So I think he's having watched five of his games, I think he's an excellent pick here, and I think has the opportunity to be a franchise quarterback for the Titans. It's just about what they can put around him. So yeah, totally understand you going with that pick there. And as you said, it's very chalk at this point. I think everybody is projecting that. I think the Titans announced this morning, my time, that they've made their decision who they're taking. So we will expect that to be Cam Ward.
good.
We should say as well, this draft is what we think will happen with our own boards in mind, though. Um,
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think here the pick is in. We know what they're going to do. I think is the Cleveland Browns here. Your hometown Cleveland Browns are going to be taking Travis Hunter, University of Colorado, transferred from Jackson State, along with Coach Prime and Dion and Shador Sanders, I should say. Sorry, just an unbelievable football player. He's the number one corner in the draft. They have him listed as corner here. I actually think the Browns are going to do something quite creative with him that we haven't seen before, which is play him as a full-time wide receiver, given their need at skill
mm,
positions
yeah,
on offense, and then give him some reps playing defense. I think I saw Jay Gruden, brother of John, was being interviewed the other day, and he said, "Well, why not play him as a receiver and then just play him on third down as a corner, just man
yeah.
covering somebody?" Um, and that makes a lot of sense. That would get him on the field for like 20 defensive snaps a game, maybe a bit less, and then a full-time receiver. The Browns badly need receiver help. Jerry Jeudy was a surprise success in that offense last year for me. But I think Travis Hunter has a capability to be a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. So this is a no-brainer pick. You got any thoughts on Travis there going to the Browns?
Well, yeah, I've said to you before in this process, probably one of the worst rosters in football, so they can use the help on both sides of the ball. I think they will play him on both sides of the ball, actually, in that kind of capacity, as you were saying, maybe third down. Yeah, he's great. Well, some people criticize his route running. When I was having a look at some corners, I saw some games he was playing against the cornerbacks, and he was burning him on double moves and stuff in the Big 12 there. So I'm not sure that's a warranted criticism. I think he's a very good route runner and extremely good hands. So yeah, he's deservedly number two. I'm glad this pick came in because it's just a great pick for the Browns.
And it's funny the critiques of his route running, and that's because he's literally never been to an offensive meeting in his life. He's always gone. He only goes to defensive meetings, and then he was playing receiver. That's part of the reason that
Oh,
offense was so simplistic, is
yeah,
because he was on the sideline where the Colorado coaching staff were, and they were shouting him the routes each play.
Jesus.
Um, so yeah, if he can get full time trained as a receiver and in those offensive meetings, I think you're going to see an exceptional weapon in the NFL that can also play
Yeah.
some defense for you. So this is really where the draft begins, I think. There's some players that I always see mocked here, but I'm not sure what you're going to do. So what do you think you're going to do at number three here, Tom? I don't think I have any of my teams that are well. Yeah, I mean, what are you doing? Are you picking?
Yeah, I think maybe the Browns might have had a call or two there for pick two. I'm not sure. Some people are reporting the Browns and Giants looking to ship these picks, but I think now that Hunter's gone, I don't see anyone trading up for anyone else here. So I'm going to stick and pick here with the Giants. Um, it's going to be Abdul Carter for me. I'm going to keep this very regulation. Pretty much the top three picks that are coming in most drafts now. Yeah, I think the Giants should have a good grade on him. I mean, he had an incredible 2024. Just a really solid pass rusher and can beat you with all kinds of moves, sorry, very athletic. And he's got the production, so it's a pretty solid pick for them there at two. People may have these edges a little bit up and down in terms of rankings, but no, I think Abdul Carter's just a very solid pick there for the Giants. I heard someone make a good point that Brian Daboll can't save his job with any of these picks here they've got at three. So there's just a nice good roster move for them.
Yeah, I agree. Look, they've clearly decided their best way to go forward at quarterback for this season is to have a veteran play there, and you'd expect that to be Russell Wilson,
Yeah.
which I think is fine. I think you can get to the playoffs with Russell Wilson, as like if you had an excellent supporting cast. The trouble is the Giants do not have an excellent supporting cast, so this helps add to that a little bit. 13 sacks this season, really breaking out first time full season playing on the edge.
Mm.
Which you definitely want him playing as an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme like the Giants run. I saw him get washed down against Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, playing on the line of scrimmage as a defensive end.
Mm.
He doesn't have the sand in his pants for that. I'm afraid for the NFL level, but yeah,
Yeah.
call it in as an outside linebacker, edge rusher, much in the mold of how do we get out of this now? Much in the mold of Micah Parsons for the
Yeah.
Cowboys. I think that's a good pick for them. Also a Penn State alum, of course, Micah
Mm.
Parsons.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so New England Patriots. I was considering a trade up for Abdul Carter. In
Mm.
this scenario, though, I let him go there because they did a lot of moves in free agency on the defense. The Patriots. The question everyone has with this team is who's going to play left tackle. You've got to keep Drake May protected. You've signed Stephon Diggs now, so you have like a good veteran presence in the receiving room. So I'm not
Yeah.
too worried about taking a weapon here. I did think about Ashton Genty, but I
Mm.
just think that's too rich. Number four overall. So I'm actually going to go with Will Campbell. Arm length be damned. Will Campbell. Will Campbell is coming in. Yeah, I'm sure yeah, it's very well known at this point. Less than the 34-inch length arms that you would want ideally from a starting left tackle. But all he did was play 3 years of extremely solid football in the SEC,
Yeah.
and all at the left tackle position. So I don't have to transfer him. Other tackles in this class you'd have to move them from guard or from right tackle to left. Not with Will. not with Will Campbell. He comes in, starts left tackle straight away for us, really solidifies that offensive line. And I'm always going to build in the trenches, Tom. So yeah, it's an easy pick for me.
Very solid. I mean, look at that. Only 2 sacks given up, 4 sacks given up across 3 years there. So fantastic production in the SEC. That's a nice solid pick. Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of talk about his arm length, which is fair enough, I suppose. But he's 6'6", over 300 pounds as well. So he's very sturdily built. Otherwise, so I think I think he's going to be a very solid pick for them there. I could be wrong, but I think that
No.
I think
No.
these first four picks are exactly what's going to happen. By the way, I don't think there's anybody trading up into that. Into that.
Yeah. Well, I think I might throw a cat among the pigeons now, Mike.
Okay, so pick number five. Pick number five. So I was. It sounds like you've got an odds team that wants to do something uh, interesting, maybe.
Well, I'm gonna stick and pick here with the Jags.
Woo! Okay, okay.
Now the Jags need a spark. They need something, and I think they'll look at the players off the board and think we just want to get ourselves a best offensive player that's left here to try and help out this offense. Liam Cohen, I think, is calling the shots there by the sound of things. I think he got the general manager in after himself, so I think the Jags are going to go with Ashton Jeanty here, running back, Boise State.
Yes, lovely.
Uh, get Jeanty in. Um, yeah, just by far the best running back in the class, obviously. I don't think it's close for me. You can see there the PFF have graded him over 94 for 2023 and 24 because he was so productive. Came on the radar a lot last year and just shredded everyone, really, especially behind a good offensive line. This could be carnage here. Really get some good offense being played in Jacksonville. The only issue with Jeanty is some tread on the tires, but I think if you get him for 3 or 4 good years, that's a huge upgrade. And the Jags have really struggled drafting running backs, I have to say, the past few years. So I think this is just a home run hit for them here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love the pick. Look, I don't know if they'll do that in real life, but I wouldn't hate it at all. They need to get Trevor Lawrence some support.
Yeah.
Travis Etienne is in the last year of his rookie deal, and that really hasn't worked out for the Jags. So they could do with a better running presence. And yeah, I mean, Jeanty gives you 3 down versatility. He's not a refined pass defender, pass blocker yet, but he is a good pass receiver. They just didn't really have to use him that way last year because he was the main weapon carrying the ball, as you know, Tom, watching a lot of Boise State football. So I really love that call from the Jags here, and that is unusual. You don't see that mocked very often, and I think he could go as high as 4 to the Patriots if the Patriots
Yeah,
are
yeah, you're
feeling
right.
punchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I think that's excellent, and that presents a little bit of an interest in our draft because the Raiders are just routinely mock Jeanty like it's an absolute no-brainer, and that nobody could possibly ever um, do anything else. And I just don't think that's the case with Pete Carroll there.
Mm,
Um John Spytek, their new GM, likes to build in the trenches over in Tampa Bay.
yeah.
I just don't think that's necessarily what they're going to do here. Tom Brady obviously is in the mix as well. So um, I, although I think I would be open to a small trade down here if you
Yeah.
if you had a team that wanted to come up and take offensive tackle two, maybe a QB of the future, anything like that. I would be open to listening. My evens teams. I,
Well,
I don't think
yeah.
my evens teams in this kind of because I'm not as the Raiders. I don't want to go down outside of the top 10. I'm just going to say that now.
No. I mean, I think maybe the one I'm thinking of is maybe the what's it called? The Niners.
Niners at 11.
Niners at 11, maybe the Saints at 9. It really depends where people have Mason Graham on the board because I think he's probably the next best consensus player. Is someone going to trade up for him?
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe the
No,
Saints.
I think yeah, I would only go as low as probably 9. So it's whether the Saints would feel the need to come up here. So yeah, that's you're an odds team. So yeah, I'll give you the final call on that. We're on the phone here. It doesn't sound like there's too much firm interest. So I'm happy. I can always stick and pick, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I think maybe stick here. I don't know. I'm not sure they could warrant giving up a haul for Mason Graham. I'm just not sure he's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love him personally. I'm not sure he's that well rated in some NFL teams, so it's just hard to say, really.
Yeah, some speculation that the Saints would trade up for a quarterback. I don't think there's any need for them to, because I don't think any of these
No.
teams ahead of them are going to take a quarterback. So, um, okay, I'm gonna pick then with the
Yeah.
Raiders. I Mason Graham is interesting, although the defense that and you could take another edge as well. So I think Mike Green would still be here.
Mm.
The NFL is incredibly high on where is he? I do know him, but I just want to pull him up here. So he's not even listed as an edge. Goodness me. I remembered that. I looked at that earlier and he's not an edge. Jalen Walker, sorry, his name
Oh
was
yeah,
escaping. Jalen
yeah,
Walker, the NFL are very high on Jalen Walker. So
yeah.
I think those would probably be the two defensive players on my mind here. But I'm actually going to do something that Spytek and um, Pete Carroll have done before and take a tackle in the top 10 here. We
Nice,
got Arna Membu here out of
nice.
the University of Missouri. The Jets here will be absolutely disgusted with this. I think that's if the Raiders are going to stick and pick, they know the Raiders will take Membu next. So just get ahead of them there. I think the Jets might be on the phone in real life just to see if they can get up and get Membu,
Yeah.
because they've got Fashanu on the left side from last season.
Mm.
Now they had this big reliable pass protector at right tackle, a huge man, prototypical size, pretty average 2022 and 2023, as you can see, but a big breakout year for him last year, his first real year full time starting. You saw his nasty streak when he got in a big brawl, Tom. I don't know who that was against, but that was in the SEC. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a good. That was a rivalry game against Arkansas.
yeah,
Membu was just trying to take on the entire D line by himself. Really, that pretty much made me circle him. So I'm glad to see him getting his flowers here a couple of years out from that.
yeah. I think he's a fantastic talent. Yeah, I think he's definitely worthy of a top 10 pick, and I think the NFL views him in that way as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my pick. So that puts you on the clock at 7 here, uh, with the New York Jets. Um, is there anything you want to do here particularly?
I think I might be. This is one where I could see the Niners and Jets potentially swapping picks here.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
I could see that happening. I don't know if we just want to do a quick trade here just to shake it up a bit.
Yeah, yeah. You want to bring the Niners in?
Yeah, I think the
So
Niners are gonna. I think the Niners have their eyes set on someone here, and the Jets. Now that Membu's gone, I think the Jets are okay. We're done. We'll get out the top 10.
I
Membu,
think I think you could see it that way. Yeah. So the San Francisco 49ers are the team. Um,
look at this. This is easy. Probably a one and a two this year to do it.
hmm. Right. Okay. The Niners don't seem to have any interest in doing this in real life.
I think
Potentially, I'm one.
select the seven for the Jets.
Ah, yeah, they're not
Really?
interested in that. Yeah, the Jets have no interest. So I think what we can do is we can force it because I don't think
Hmm.
I don't think the Niners would be out of this. This is just what the PFF mock draft simulator thinks. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think the Niners would be out of this equation by any means. The
Yeah.
43 this year would get it done by the trade chart, I believe. I can just double check that. Um, so the Jets pick is a 1500. The Niners is a 1250. And then what was it, 40 something?
For just to the right 470. So that'll easily do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that'll do it there. So yeah, I mean, we're just gonna force this trade.
Yeah, right. Let's do it. This is fun. Trades in. All right. The Niners move up, and it's going to be Mason Graham like to the Niners.
Draw a player. Nice.
Defensive
Right.
interior, Michigan. Well, he's a California guy, so I can see this happening as well. The Niners
Nice.
bring him back to the state. Um, by far my favorite defensive lineman here. Just had incredible production for the last 2 years, and that Michigan front was just impossible to run on. It was just ridiculous, really, how good they were, and he was a big part of that. And he's going to get pressure from the middle there. He's slightly undersized, but I really have a problem when people say a guy who's over 300 pounds is undersized because they'll say someone who's 320 is a huge man. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, it's 20 pounds. It's just ridiculous. So I think he's got more than enough strength and play power to give a lot of guards and centers problems in the NFL. And I think the Niners will be able to use him very well. They've historically had very good DCs there and good defensive schemes. So I think it's a really good fit for them. And I can see them trading up for him. I see them really, really liking this guy.
Yeah. No, and you also hear he's not an elite pass rusher. He doesn't always get after the passer as much as you would like from the interior, but he's had three, four, or five sacks in successive years, and he can play, and he's stout against the run, so he can do a bit of both. Which
Yeah,
I think in the modern
that's
NFL, with so many too high structures, you don't want to be taking a pass rushing DT in the top 10 that can only rush the passer because he's going to have to play the run so much as
no,
well.
no. Yeah, he's got more sack production than some ends we're going to look at in this draft.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's not a big
absolutely.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I think that's a really solid fit for them there. And the Niners have shown they like to trade up as well before. So I think I can see this happening.
yeah. Okay, cool. That puts me on the clock with the Panthers, and they actually have some interest in this pick from one of my teams, the Chicago Bears. I've just seen Mason Graham slide off here. Um, and they're thinking to themselves, offensive line, we've really upgraded. There isn't a tackle going to be there at 10 that we absolutely love. Now the top two are gone. And it's just the defensive line now, outside of Sweat on the one side. Who else have we got? And who have we got in the middle? Now, they would have loved Graham to fall to them, but that didn't happen. So I think they're going to look to come up to 8 here and try and secure themselves an edge player.
Nice.
So let's see if they're yeah, see, PFF don't agree that they'd be interested, but I disagree with that. They see they've got these two alluring second round picks here,
Mm,
so they don't have to give up too much to make this happen. I think we're going to do this one, the higher of the two. Um,
Carolina's original pick there, the DJ Moore trade, really
yeah,
haunted me.
trading it back to them. Yeah, this would be the NFL insiders would be all of a flutter if this happened. Um, So we'll force this trade because that's enough
Nice,
value, as we've just seen from the trade chart. That's enough value to get that done. So that
nice.
the Bears pop up into the top 10, and they're going to take a player that I've already for goodness sake I've already alluded to in this mock draft, and it's Jalen Walker.
Nice.
I think they know he's potentially a fit for the Panthers there in that scheme, but he's also a fit as a pass rushing outside linebacker for the Bears. The interesting thing about Walker is some teams see him as an inside linebacker. Sometimes some players see him as an edge. I think the people that some teams see him as an edge, the teams that see him as an edge really love his pass rushing upside, and I think he wouldn't necessarily have to come in and play every down.
Yeah.
Chicago would start him off as a designated pass rusher and then work him in and see if he can potentially become like a Nolan Smith, Hassan Reddick kind of undersized edge that the NFL is more open to these days than it's ever been before. And they've seen this. They've seen like Nolan Smith, also out of Georgia for the Philadelphia Eagles. I've seen that work firsthand, where you play 1 year purely as a pass rusher and you build up their responsibility the longer they
Yeah.
stay. And I just think that would be complete a really nice off season for the Bears, upgrading in the trenches on both sides. Give
Yeah.
themselves a
Well, good character guy as well, by the sound of things, Jalen Walker,
yeah,
and the Bears need some of that. Bears need some level heads in that defense. So
yeah.
good to see.
And I think there's only 7 or 8 blue chip players in this draft, according to most people that I've listened to, that are clued up on the league, obviously more than us, like NFL insiders. And I think they've all basically come off the board now. And
Hmm.
now is where it gets interesting. It's like bun fight time on whatever else is going to happen now. So yeah,
Yeah.
have at it, Tom.
Okay. The Saints here, pick nine. We're going to have a look at the receivers, if I'm the Saints here. Um, Now, the number one receiver, Ted McMillan, the big man, much bigger than everyone else here. He probably could work, I think, for the Saints. I was gonna maybe go Golden, but the Saints do have that kind of Chris Olave receiver who's the shorter, quicker guy. So I do think McMillan is the pick here for the Saints.
Mm.
I think he's in that Mike Evans mold where he's just a huge man. He can occupy the X, and then you could have Olave working out wherever really to just get him some favorable matchups. But I think this gives the Saints a real chance to take a look now at what they've got at quarterback. And Ted McMillan, yeah, incredibly big man, goes up and attacks the ball, good catcher of the ball. And yeah, stellar production for the last 2 years. I like that as well. He's not really a one-hit wonder. He's been doing it for a while there down in Arizona. And I'm glad to see him getting the recognition he deserves because he's a really fun guy to watch, and he should be a prototypical NFL receiver, really. Most people's number one.
Yeah, and I think why some people like him is he can play. He's not just an X. He does have a bit more wiggle,
Mm.
um, and a bit more about him, and he can create. There's a lot of very poor quarterback play going on in Arizona, so there's a lot of off-schedule receptions for Ted McMillan in that offense, and he was able to make the most of that. So I think he's an interesting pick there for New York, and a really good compliment to Olave. The other thing with Olave is he's had so many injuries,
Yeah.
concussions, that now they need him to stay healthy. And Ted McMillan makes it a bit easier if you are going to play yeah, either a rookie quarterback at some point with Derek Carr being injured, or if you're going to play one of your backup quarterbacks again in this Kellen Moore offense. I think he gives you a receiving threat for any of those younger quarterbacks that might play there.
Yeah, I think they could be looking at D line as well as it says there, but I think Kellen Moore gets the executive decision here coming in as head coach, gets a nice offensive weapon for himself there.
I think with the Saints as well, they would also be in the Membu stakes if he started
Yeah,
sliding. I think
yeah.
they would definitely be in the Membu stakes as well at tackle. Okay, so the Panthers did quite well there. I think, to be honest, when I traded down, I did think Ted McMillan would be there. So that would have been the A1 outcome there, is
Mm.
for Ted McMillan just to be sat there for me still. And I just feel my biggest need, which is weapons, for Bryce Young. I know we need DBs. I know we need D linemen. Defense is terrible, in Carolina. But there isn't an edge here, um, that I really love. I'm just going to check the D line situation. Walter Nolan, I don't know. He's more a pass rusher only, really.
Mm.
Um, I think what I'm going to do here is stick to my board and just go with who I think they will go with and who I think is the best player available. And
Oh,
that's Tyler Warren,
oh, yes,
tight end
lovely.
out of Penn State. An absolute threat, in all aspects as a blocker, uh, both on the line and a lead blocker. He's been used. He's played in the slot. He's played on the line. He's played as a wildcat quarterback. He's an all-around weapon, and he's a big man. I didn't appreciate how big this man was at 6 foot 6,
Oh,
261 pounds. He
yeah.
doesn't have a lot of wiggle to him, so he's not the same kind of prospect as Brock Bowers. I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, get your Brock Bowers." It's Tyler Warren, and that they're just not the same player.
No.
Tyler Warren really is more in the mold of like a mini Gronkowski, where he's going to battle for jump balls down the field. With the ball in his hands, he will run people over. Though he's not the shiftiest, but he'll just run through you.
Yeah.
And he'll take some snaps inside the 5 as the wildcat quarterback. So yeah, that really, I think that it puts some fire in finally in the Panthers' offensive skill position room, and yeah, give poor little Bryce Young someone to throw to at long last. Outside of Adam Thielen, who's about 40 at this point.
Yeah, that's it reminds me a lot of the Browns, that one. I think you just get the best football player in for your offense to help everyone out. It's because as you said, it is going to help everyone out. So that I really like that pick.
And they got the value of trading down, still picked up Tyler Warren. So they
Yeah,
can go back now early second round picks and pick up defensive players that are going to help them.
yeah, for sure.
Cool. So that puts you on the clock at 11 with the with your New Jersey Jets.
The New Jersey Jets. Well, I think we're going to have to go offensive line here.
Nice call for them.
Let's bring up who's left just to remind myself
I
here.
assume you're going to tackle.
Yeah, tackle. I'm probably just going to go with. I usually trust these rankings, to be honest. O-line, yeah, they're usually very accurate. So I'm just going to give them the best offensive lineman left, which is Josh Simmons here,
Ooh, nice.
national championship winner here with OSU. Then the decision could be between receiver and tackle, but again, I think Ted McMillan's off, so I'm not sure everyone's grades and the other guys is high. So I think this is just a solid pick here for the Jets. They really need to shore everything up along that line. It's been a bit of a mess. They couldn't get the best of Mekhi Becton when he was there, and I believe they drafted tackle last year to play on the one side. So this will shore up. Simmons will probably go to right tackle here if you don't play him at left tackle. So yeah, just a very solid prospect. No sacks given up in the whole of 2024. And yeah, Aaron Rodgers has to stay upright if he is indeed going to start for the Jets. So this will be the pick here.
Yeah, the Ohio State University. Go Bucks.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so Simmons, the thing for him is the health. So he tore a patella tendon last season, but I think people are saying he should be ready for the start of this season. So, but even if he's not, you've got Fashanu over there at left tackle can to start
yeah,
who will stay at left tackle. So it's not a disaster. You can bring Simmons on slowly. I think people that are in the know about offensive line play, which obviously you and I are not, quite a few of them have Simmons as their offensive tackle number one, number two, or number three in this class. He's very highly regarded by everyone. It's just that injury. I think he'd
yeah.
be ahead of Membu for most teams without that injury. So very
Okay.
solid pick there for the Jets. I like
Yeah,
that.
and the Jets have shown the propensity to draft good players actually for all their chaos in that organization. So yeah, I could see this
Yeah.
just being a solid pick for them here.
Even Mekhi Becton, when he was in a better offensive situation, played well for the Eagles. Like they have drafted well in the top, but it's just yeah, no quarterback is an issue. Now the Dallas Cowboys have their quarterback. They do have needs on the defense. They need a running mate for Micah Parsons, assuming they're going to pay Micah Parsons. I think you have to assume they will. Um, they've also taken a propensity really to take players a bit earlier than maybe other teams would. Um, that are like not necessarily positions of need. I think
Mm.
I've seen them take a guard in the first round. We've seen them take Cody Whitehair, the center, in the first round. We've seen them take two inside linebackers. Now, in fairness, Parsons then became one of the best edges in the league, but he was an inside linebacker when they took him.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll be above taking an interior offensive lineman here, the Dallas
Wow.
Cowboys, or a
Okay.
wide receiver.
Yep.
Now, it depends. There's two UT prospects. I think Banks, the tackle, UT could slide into guard and fill that Zach Martin, be a fixture for them for the next few years. And then receiver, um, I think they'd have some interest in Matthew Golden out of
Mhm.
who's also a Hookham
Yep.
Texas Longhorn. Um, I'm going to go Golden here. It's a slightly
Yeah.
showier pick. Uh,
Yeah.
which is also going to I think they know they need to show a little bit more. I know they're saying they're not going to go ridiculously overboard urgency, but they do need to show a little bit more than they've been showing the last couple of years. They don't want to waste Dak Prescott's window of
Yeah.
being an elite quarterback. So I think Golden really the production is the thing with him. He didn't really produce Houston, where he
Mm.
was the last 22, 23, then transferred to Texas in 24. And he's really blown up on their national championship playoff run, is where he came alive. He's very much an off the ball slot Z receiver.
Mm.
Um, and a lot of teams may not have him as the their number one receiver, but he did run a 4.2940. Now, albeit that doesn't really show up on film very often, which is a concern, but he's got it in his body to be fast. And CeeDee Lamb plays a lot on the line of scrimmage as an X. So that means Matthew Golden won't necessarily have to. He gives you a really nice number two pairing.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think that's the pick here. Any thoughts on that, Tom?
No, I think with these receivers, I think all 32 NFL teams are going to have different grades and all these guys. It's just kind of what flavor works for you.
In the
So
eye of the beholder, right?
yeah, I think the speed will be good. Get him with you got to take some of the attention away from CD there. So yeah, receiver. I'm glad you drafted that. It's actually a very sensible pick there for the Cowboys, I have to say.
I think so. I think so. But yeah, I could also see them taking an inside linebacker and just saying we don't give a shit because they do that. They do that kind of thing, the Cowboys. But they get it right. They're good players in the NFL. They're just never at positions of need, which is
Yeah,
interesting. It does show that sometimes just taking the best player doesn't always give the best results because they haven't been great the last few years.
yeah, true. All right. This pick's going to be very simple for me, Mike. 13. All I've been hearing so far is that the Dolphins need some help in the secondary. Their secondary is woeful.
Yeah.
Um, it was good a few years ago, and then they've traded everyone away or let everyone go. So they're going to drop. They're going to take. It's going to be Texas and Texas, a 1-2 punch here as
Oh,
Jade comes to the Miami. Um, yep,
I love
Jade
this
Barron.
player.
I love, yeah, I had a good look at him when I was doing my corners this year. Very, very competent player. Played in the slot for most of 22, 23, then split his time between the slot and outside in 24. So I think the Dolphins would be comfortable having a look at him in 2024. Sorry, as a outside corner. Um, Tackles willingly, which I do enjoy. He's probably got to improve his technique a bit, but he likes to give people a good thumping, which is always good for me. And played through the ball quite a lot and he's quite physical with receivers. So I think if you're taking a corner top half of the first round, this is kind of the guy you need here, a guy who's going to be able to go man on the outside and just hassle people and bring a bit of spark to a team. He's a very well-spoken young man as well. So I think there's a very solid selection here for the Dolphins. The only thing with Barron is I think most of his five picks there were kind of gimmies in 2024. So the production maybe not quite there in terms of getting the turnovers, but in this cornerback class, I think he's probably the best of the bunch outside of Hunter, obviously.
Yeah, and in the modern NFL, he's kind of an interesting hybrid.
Yeah.
He can play. He's a lot of teams either opt to have a third safety out there to play the run, or they opt to have a third corner out there to play the pass. And Jahdae Barron kind of gives you a little bit of both. Now,
Hmm.
some people will say, well, he's neither then, and I guess that's fair. But I think this is the kind of player we're going to see more and more playing in the slot in the NFL. Short, 5'11", 200 pounds, stocky, willing tackler, can play deep half the field as well. So
Yeah.
you can do funky coverage looks where you can pull him out from the slot and he runs deep to play a deep half. So yeah, I think he's a really interesting player, and I think he's got more value in the NFL than he's ever had before. So good time for him to
Hmm.
come out, get a big first round contract.
Yeah.
Um, okay. On the clock here, we have the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, I don't think I've got any mega interest anyone coming up. I think I'm not. Uh, Everyone's trying to save their job here in Indianapolis. Let's be frank. It's been the Anthony Richardson experience hasn't worked out. We're gonna have to get him some playmakers, I think, to make that thing work. So we're gonna go with Colston Loveland here
Ah,
out
lovely.
of University of Michigan. This is as chalk as it gets. I've seen Loveland mocked to them in almost every scenario, but it just makes too much sense, Tom.
Hmm.
He's a
Yeah.
huge pass catching threat in the middle of the field. Very productive at Michigan the last 2 years, as you can see. Not going to give you much in the blocking game. Although I have heard that due to injury, shoulder injury, he hasn't been able to lift for the last like 12 months.
All
Um,
right.
and he's had that repaired now surgically. So the hope is he can come into the NFL and put on some extra weight and become more physical at the line of scrimmage blocking. Obviously, that's pure projection. You can't rely on that. What you can rely on is his brilliant pass catching skills. You can get with Shane Steichen there as the offensive coordinator, get a lot in too tight, get a lot because they've also got Jelani Woods, and some other good tight ends of the Colts. So you can get a lot of two tight ends on the field, run the hell out of the football with Anthony Richardson and the running game, or Daniel Jones, whoever's at quarterback, and then yeah, pass it to Colston Loveland. I think, and Pitts on the outside. I think it really improves their offense, this pick.
Yeah, very good. And the Indianapolis Colts experience will continue. See how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. So that puts you back on. I've not got any teams looking to come up to 15. So yeah, have at it, boss.
Yeah, this is what I've been thinking of a lot. Yeah, the Falcons showed a propensity last year to shock everyone, and I do think maybe something similar is coming this year. Now this is a player who actually
Shador Sanders to the Falcons here.
this is a player who PFF have actually got rated quite high here. I don't think you and me have him as a first round prospect, Mike, but I think the Falcons might be quite enamored, and it is a need. So I'm going to give them Jihad Campbell here from Alabama.
Whoa, baby.
Yeah. Um, Very, very polarizing prospect, off the ball linebacker, slash pass rusher. Should have been a pass rusher, but got beaten out by superior players in his junior and sophomore campaign. So as a senior, he did play primarily as a pass rusher, and he was very good production as a pass rusher. Just that 1 year really of solid production on a good defense there in Alabama. So it is a bit of a risk, but I think the Falcons have shown they like taking players like this that maybe others aren't as high on, and they think they've maybe found a diamond in the rough here. They would have seen a lot of him down the road there in Alabama, so I think this is a pretty sensible pick there, and they just really need to go defense. So I think they believe this is the best defensive player left.
I think that's a fair point. That's a fair summation, really. A lot of these other edges, well, they're going to start coming off the board now, further down bottom half of this mock, and we'll talk about the issues they've got both off the field and on the field. So that maybe explain why they didn't go ahead of Campbell here. There's a lot of snaps in the box as a mid linebacker, so I think
Yeah,
if you're, and I think that's where he's best rushing the passer from is a blitzer through the middle at the moment, which look, Atlanta's defense needs help at every level. So if you bring him in and start him out on the edge and it doesn't really work out, you can move him back inside to play a more hybrid linebacker position.
yeah,
Yeah, as you can see, linebacker is a need anyway, so it kind of fills two needs. You can give him a look, see what his best position is, and then just let him roll from there.
yeah.
Um, so this is an interesting one. This is an interesting one for the Cardinals. It does say an interior offensive line is a need, but for me, it's not as big a need as the defense. I think the defense is the biggest need in Arizona. They're slowly putting together a nice unit here, but they did lose Calais Campbell on the defensive line. And I think they want to play with Jonathan Gannon calling the shots there. Um, they're going to play. I think they played the most zone coverage in the NFL, and not only that, they played the most too high zone coverage as well. Quarters, in fact, not too high quarters. So I think they need someone that can really plug a gap in the middle there and give them some defensive solidity,
Mm,
which is not Walter Nolan. I'm going to give them Kenneth Grant here out of
nice.
the University of Michigan. Uh, the running mate of the player that you took earlier. I'm just trying to find him so we can check. Mason Graham. They play together on the D line a lot of production for Kenneth Grant as a pass rusher in the last 2 years. So he can rush the passer, but really he's a power player in the middle. And I think if you're going to build on the lines of scrimmage, he's the kind of player you want, and it'll allow them. Most importantly, they even last season they were playing a lot of three safeties back deep, and then rotating into different coverage looks from that. So you really need some beef on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
So I think that's where Kenneth Grant comes in. He's a huge man, I believe. Have a look.
yeah.
He's
6'5",
6'3",
oh, 6'3", 330.
6'3", 340 was his official weight at the combine. So he's a big man.
Yeah, and he can move as well. So he's an excellent pick there. I think some people may be less high on him than we are, but no, I think he's absolutely warranted to go this high in the draft. For what you're going to do here, when you get down to this second half of the first round, it's kind of just take a pick. Really, there's not much consensus. So really solid pick there. And yeah, he should really improve that team. I mean, as I said before, that Michigan front just impossible to run on for anyone in the Big Ten the last 2 years. So yeah.
Great. Um, the Bengals.
Oof.
What are we doing here in Bengals land?
Yeah, this is tough here. I could see them going safety. I think that's a need for them that's not listed out there, but I think
Yeah,
the edge line.
I'm surprised to see DB is not a need for them because they need help at all three levels of the defense.
Yeah, they do. But I do think letting Hendrickson go. Did they let him go in the end?
No,
I
not
forgot.
yet. They're still in negotiations. I think that could be a draft day thing. So
Yeah. No, this is tough. I mean, either way, they need someone the other side of him because Sam Hubbard retired from football. He's not in football anymore, Mike.
I didn't know
So
that. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I'm going to give him Mike Green.
Oh, such a good pick. I love that pick, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But you go first.
Yeah, so I mean, just an incredibly highly rated player here from the Thundering Herd. He's got incredible production, and he's gone up against some good kind of top teams in the country, notably Ohio State, I think last year, and some others in his time. So he's shown good production against those teams. I think he's a pure edge rusher, not really much for a run stuffer, but he gets the most out of what he has for being a slightly smaller, shorter player. Just an incredible set of pass rushing moves here. So I think as a pure edge rusher, this is a nice home run here for the Bengals.
Purely as a pass rusher, he is ahead of all the pass rushers we've picked outside of Carter for me.
Yeah.
His problem and why this is such a Bengals pick is off the field. So he's got a sexual assault allegation,
Oh,
I think,
oh dear, I didn't know that. Oh dear.
which he's saying, his people and the it seems like from what I've been reading that isn't going to go anywhere, but
Yeah,
it's not great, obviously, and it's just such a Bengals pick.
yeah,
They've taken a chance on Joe Mixon. They've
yeah.
taken Jermaine Burton, who they picked last year in the third round, is out of football
Oh
already.
wow.
He's a nightmare. So this is such a Bengals pick. They've got one scout or something. They'll just send him down to Marshall for a weekend just to get to know Mike Green. Check he's all right off the field, and then just give it the thumbs up. That's such a realistic pick. I haven't seen that mocked a lot, and I've thought, well, who are the players in this draft that are good value but have off the field concerns, and Mike Green is absolutely one of them. So yeah, that's a very good pick by you. I could absolutely see that happening. Um, Seattle Seahawks are very happy. They need everybody on the interior offensive line.
Hmm.
Um, so they've got really a pick of great options here, but I'm going to play it quite safe, and I'm not going to give them Gray Zabel, who is probably they would love to have Gray Zabel as well. They'd like to have two guys really, Zabel and this player that I'm taking, Kelvin Banks Jr. He's listed here as a tackle, but I know that a lot of the NFL, if we look at him here, 6'4", 320, a lot of teams see that more of a guard profile than a tackle. Purely as a tackle, he's a top five player at his position in this draft, an excellent pass blocker, really nasty in the run game as well, which is I think another reason why people want to see him at guard. And on this sort of disaster of an offensive line the Seahawks have had for the last 15 years, really. Um, he can move to tackle to cover injury. He can play guard. I just think he's a really nice pickup for the Seahawks, and their first two or three picks have got to all be on the offensive line. I'd have thought the lack of options they've got there. So yeah, Kelvin Banks Jr.
Yeah, another really good high IQ caliber prospect. The opposite of Mike Green, really, there, Calvin Banks. Just someone who's been attributed with turning that Texas program around. So yeah, very, very solid pick there. Very good from the Seahawks.
Right,
Um, okay, we get on to the Bucks.
interesting
Well,
team, interesting team because it's really just defense or bust here. It has to be really because their offense is set.
yeah, this is all defensive needs here. They could go edge. Maybe I think the top ones are now off. I'm going to come back and give them some secondary help here.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Will Johnson from Michigan here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice pick. I'd actually forgotten he hadn't come off, which is poor by me because he could have gone to some of my teams. But go on.
Yeah. I think the injury last year was plaguing him, and potentially is another one that's been dunked a bit down the boards there. As we see, there are only 6 games played. It's always tough, but I mean, if you look at the production, he was so consistent before that. I think he's a true outside cornerback. Really good cover skills, really good playing through the ball. He's okay at tackling. He's not the best. Good length on him. So I think the Bucks will be very happy to put him out there on Ireland and see what he can do. He's shown propensity to play man and zone. A little they played a little off man quite a lot there in Michigan when he was in man. So they won't really give him too much of a chance to get in people's faces on the outside. But I think he kind of projects to me as a guy who can do that. And maybe the best pure corner in the cast, as I said, just the injuries kind of knocked him a bit from last year.
And the other thing is, I've heard people say, did he just shut it down last year? Because he knew
Yeah, I heard
coming to
that.
the
Well,
NFL.
yeah, which isn't great for me personally if I was picking, but yeah, I don't know how much the Bucks would care about that.
And as you said, he's a purely an outside corner, which they desperately need. After they had a great set of secondary players there, a lot of them have moved on just because you can't afford to keep everybody in the modern NFL. So his only question in this pick is he's going to have to play a lot of man coverage for Todd Bowles. So he'll just
Yeah,
but who better to teach it than Todd Bowles?
yeah,
So I think that's a great pick. You don't want to worry too much about did he play enough man in college. Just like take the best player, and then you've got to back yourself as a coach to coach him up.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Denver Broncos are on the clock here. I think this is my turn to take a bit of a renegade swing. You took one earlier on a running back, slightly renegade. I'm also going to take one on a running back.
Nice.
Sean Payton loves throwing the football to running backs, and he loves backs that can pass pro immediately out of college. He doesn't really have to teach it.
Yeah,
Uh, and dynamism in that pass catching back as well. He had it in Alvin Kamara, Reggie Bush with the Saints. I think it's an essential part of his offense, not necessarily to carry it 300 times a year, but certainly to receive it a lot. So I'm going to give them the best 3 down running back, I believe, in the draft. I'm going to give them Trevion Henderson here
oh, yeah, lovely.
out of the Ohio State University, who's a very high 5-star recruit coming out of high school. Buckeyes. Wouldn't say a legend really, but he was a national champion with the Buckeyes this year. He's very highly graded there by PFF. I hadn't even seen that before. My goodness. So yeah, he's dynamic, and really it's the 3 down skill set. So he'll catch the ball naturally, easily, and he'll pass protect right off the bat. It still needs to be refined in that area, as all college backs do. But yeah, I think I think I've heard that the Broncos absolutely love him, and Sean Payton doesn't mess around. If he sees, he'll go way above where people think somebody is graded and pick them because he loves them. So that's why I've got them taking Trevion here.
Yeah, I love that. It's a good fit for them. They've got some bruisers who can take the workload out the middle and then just get Henderson running outside there. So that'd be a lovely combination.
And I think Bo Nix loves throwing it underneath, checking it down. I think he could get 70, 80 catches a season, Trevion Henderson, in that
Yeah,
offense.
for sure.
Okay,
Uh,
Steelers.
yeah, well, there haven't been
Interesting
any
pick here.
trades. Haven't been any trades for quarterbacks. No one's been moving up for quarterbacks. The Steelers have a need at quarterback. I don't think they're going to do it though, Mike. I honestly don't. I think they've been burned by taking Kenny Pickett at this spot before in a
Yeah.
similar quarterback draft a few years ago. So I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're just going to stick around here and get who they think is going to help them the most. And I'm going to go to the tackle well here, Mike, and go offensive tackle. We can just bring up the prospects. I'm going to go with the next best to pure tackle, which is going to be Josh Connolly Jr. from
Nice pick. Nice
yeah,
pick.
a very stable pick as well. Now I don't know too much about him, but as I said, I trust these tackle ratings from the pros. and he's been a good starter at Oregon and kept a lot of good quarterbacks upright for a long time now, only giving up one sack a year, which is pretty incredible. Good production from the lad. So yeah, that's going to be a nice solid pick there for the Steelers.
Very solid pick, and they've had a bit of an up and down experience with the boy they drafted out of Georgia. I forget his name now, big tackle. But they've
Oh,
got
Mim. Yeah, big
yeah,
Mim. Yeah,
yeah.
good.
No, not Mims. That was the Bengals. I can't remember who it was now. I can't remember the guy's name. It was like 2 years ago. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They got Fatanu last year's playing left tackle for them. I think,
Mm.
or Fatanu might even be more comfortable at right tackle, so then you can slot Josh Connolly straight in at left.
Yeah.
I know that Mike Tice, a former coach, I heard him talking on a podcast. He has Josh Connolly as his offensive lineman one in the entire draft.
Oh,
And
good.
that's the more that we find out about what NFL teams are thinking closer to the draft, that seems to be the consensus that the NFL is super high on Conley, and draft media has not been as high. So I think you're correct in calling your shot here. I think he's
Nice.
going to go. He could even go higher than this, actually. So that's one
Yeah.
to watch out for on draft night. Right. So um, yeah, basically the Chargers haven't got any weapons on offense, have they? Which is a slight issue. Um, which is a slight issue when you're trying to throw the football as much as you sort of have to in the NFL. I'd love to give them a tight end. Loveland, I've seen slide to them in some drafts, which would obviously be a fit from Michigan, but um, I'm going to give them a receiver here,
Mm.
and um, we're going to go pure upside with the receiver here, which is Luther Burden the third.
Oh,
This is certainly not where I have Luther Burden graded as a receiver. I think I'd have a Booker ahead of him. I think I'd have Jaden Higgins ahead of him. But I think it's just a bit dear for either of those two players right here. And I think the NFL loves Luther Burden more than I do. He's an absolute threat after the catch from the slot. He just doesn't really know what he's doing on the football field. Now, whether that's effort or whether that's he has just not been well coached and it's a pretty poor Missouri offense is another question. So be interesting to see. But he's dynamic and he can run vertically from the slot. And yeah, they need somebody. They've got their slot receiver already. Luther Burden should project being able to play outside as well. So he's the only receiver on the board at this point that could give you that kind of upside of being a wide receiver one. And they've just got to take a swing on that for me, the Chargers.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I think I am higher than you do as well. I really enjoy watching him play at his time there. As you said, the route run needs to be worked on. He started playing out wide, as we can see there in 22, and then had most of his success in the slot. So as you said, your projector, you can go out wide and do some stuff. Hampered by severe injuries to Missouri's quarterbacks last year, really. So don't take that with a bit of a pinch of salt, his 24 production. I think he's a really good character guy. Famously came out of Missouri, St. Louis area, and stuck with the team through some tough times. Didn't enter the transfer portal, and really played through and as a team guy. So I think Harbaugh likes that, and it's a really good fit there for them. So I think the match is complete with those two.
Nice. That's good context on Burden. That makes me feel a bit better about him, actually. Wasn't really sure on the character stuff. That's actually the most informative thing I've heard because a lot of people just haven't given me much insight on that. So I enjoyed that. Thank you. Right. So Packers, what do you got?
Oh, well, I mean, the Packers need a receiver, but they're not going to take a receiver, so let's just forget about that in the first round. Let's go to, ooh, this is, I think they could be in a safety market here, but I'm going to give them a very Packers player here, Mike. Much like we talked about the Bengals going a bit rogue, I'm going to give the Packers James Pierce from Tennessee. Just because I think this could genuinely happen. I'm in
Yeah.
nowhere near the first round. I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole, but
Yeah.
I think the Packers love these guys. They have who's that other guy? Trey Walker. They have who's just an absolute.
Yeah.
He's like an idiot, but he's a good football player. So I think they can work out the off-field stuff that's happened with Pierce and kind of mold him into a very solid edge rusher. And he does have extreme physical traits. I think he ran like a 4.4 or something, which is ridiculous for an edge. He's about 240. So yeah, I think
Yeah, 6'5", 240. My
Yeah, good
word.
lord. Yeah, so yeah, the raw physical traits, they've just got to work out his off-field stuff. But Bob coming to the bottom of the first round, then you're just kind of swinging here. So I can see this happening for sure for the Packers.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too. Um, okay, really interesting. The needs here for the Vikings, running back and D line. I just don't think they view running back as a need, and I don't think D line is a need. They better not be. They spent tens of millions of dollars on D linemen in free agency. So very funny there from PFF on what he thinks their needs are. No, no, no. I think their needs are interior offensive line.
Mm.
They've just never been able to solidify that position. They got an offensive minded coach and play caller that saw his unit get absolutely mauled by the Rams in the playoffs. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And they don't need any more embarrassing. It affected Darnold to the degree that they were just happy to let him walk at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Um, oh, okay, interesting. They've got him as a tackle. Gray Zabel is absolutely not going to play tackle, but he is going to play for the Minnesota Vikings in this scenario.
Nice.
Um, he can come
Yeah, like
in.
that.
Yeah, he can come in and he can play any of the three interior spots, and he can also play tackle if you have an injury crisis. It just makes so much sense for a team that needs offensive line patchworking. And everything I've heard is even though he's a small school prospect, people. I think the NFL feel very comfortable with him being a very safe, long time, um, you know, 5, 6 year starter on the offensive line in the NFL, which is worth its weight in gold. These guys get $10 million a year in free agency. So pick one
Yeah.
up on a nice cheap rookie contract and just keep this offense rolling.
So that's superb. This is a really good pick. I like seeing a North Dakota State Bison go in the first round. That's wonderful.
Yeah, great stuff. That puts you on with the Texans here, Tom. The Tejanos. What do you uh, what do
Oh,
you what do you think for them?
uh, oof, yeah, I think receiver, O line. I think those are the needs for sure.
Who's playing left tackle for this team? My word. They traded Oh God, come on! The name of their tackle. Why am I blanking? He's a great. They traded him.
Tunsil. They traded Tunsil.
Yeah, they traded Tunsil away. So
Oh, for God's sake.
they traded one. They traded Kenyon Green to the Eagles as well. So they're missing two or three starters on the offensive line. It's a bit of an epidemic there, to be honest.
Yeah, and that they're going to be annoyed Gray Zabel's been taken off the ball because I think there's a
Oh,
bit
that's
of
why I did it. That's why I did it.
a the Texans, forever the bridesmaids. But I think we're going to go. Yeah, I think they're going to look at this, and if they have a tackle board the way this is, they're going to say there's not the value here. So they're going to pair Emeka Egbuka with his old teammate, CJ Stroud.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
and
I
just
like that a lot.
yeah, and to kind of follow that blueprint that we've seen have some success in the NFL. Just get a real blue blood receiver here who works out the slot, and you still have Nico Collins to spread the field. And this guy just becomes a nice hands, reliable guy here for CJ Stroud with a previous relationship. So, yeah, I mean, he's been on top of his game for a long time. Bit of a down year there in 23 in terms of production, but just
That was
extremely solid.
injury, I think.
Yeah,
23.
yeah, so I mean the production's been there year on year. This is about as solid as you can get with a 125 here.
Yeah, he's my receiver one in this class. I think I told you that
Mm,
right from the beginning. I went away from it and now I'm back on it because I know exactly what I'm going to get from him. He knows exactly where he needs to be in zone coverage.
mm.
And he's going to see about 70% zone coverage in the NFL. He's going to play off the ball and he's going to play in the slot in that offense as well. It's perfect for him. He doesn't have to do anything else. They've got Collins as the downfield man. They got Tank Dell as the gadget, who can also play as like a Z on the outside as a deep threat, and then they can put a Booker in the slot and just let him work on linebackers and safeties. It's
Right.
absolutely perfect. He could be a revelation in that offense as a rookie. That he could be offensive player of the year in that offense.
Yeah,
Seriously, offensive rookie of the year. I mean, sorry, not player.
yeah.
That is such a perfect fit. Great pick by you. Um,
Probably got about 10 minutes on the timer. That's all right.
yeah, okay. So I need to put a foot down here. Um, I would say now this is quite straightforward, actually. I'm going to take Malachi Starks for the Rams.
All right.
They've got big needs on the back end. Just don't overthink this one. You jump ahead of the Ravens, who would have absolutely loved to have taken Starks. That's such a Ravens pick. So we'll
Yeah.
jump ahead of them and we'll take Starks here. played more nickel uh, and sort of up man on man against receivers last year, which didn't really suit him. He actually played a lot better as a too high safety. He actually tackled really well coming down from that too high alignment in 23. As you can see, his grade was higher than it was this year. So I think the Rams, they play a lot too high. Get him back there as a safety and get him out the slot, and I think you'll see a much improved player.
Nice, nice.
Right,
Uh,
Ravens.
the Ravens, yep. Well, I think we're going to look here at probably one of these two top guys on the board. Um, I'm going to go Ezra Raku here from Boston College. Just give him what's probably the best edge rusher left. Extremely good production in Boston College there, 14 sacks in 24. You might say, oh, he didn't do it the years before, which could be a problem, but
Eight's not bad as a freshman.
no, no, bottom of the first. I think this is a good selection here for them, and just something the Ravens can use in all sorts of odd alignments, and just get him some good matchups as a pass rusher.
Yeah, the knock on him is size,
Yeah,
which he's bigger than Jalen Walker, so I'm not too worried about that. He's about the same size as Nolan Smith of the Eagles, as I mentioned earlier. I think that's a really good pick, and a very Ravens pick as well. They won't worry about that either. They just see a good football player, and they'll take a good football player. The Lions have a sneaky high amount of needs. I'm going to give them the player that I just think is the most Dan Campbell player left on the board, and that's Tyler Boyd. Uh,
nice.
University of Alabama. They've got an interior offensive line need, and Booker is he's a kneecap eater if ever I've seen one. Big physical guard. He performed absolutely dreadfully in the athletic testing at the combine, but they've already got some athletic linemen, so
Yeah,
you can just let Booker go down the middle and just crease some linebackers and hurt some people in that running game. I think that would give them a nasty edge. Will continue to give them that nasty edge they've been looking for ever since Campbell took over as head coach.
nice, nice.
Okay,
Okay, Commanders coming up. Yeah, I think I'm going to give the Commanders a player that Dan Quinn's going to like to have on the back end. It is going to be cornerback Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky.
ooh, nice. Little down the board. I like it.
Yeah, down the board, but he ran a 4.29 at the combine. And I would be surprised if he doesn't go in the first round after running a 4.29. I don't think he probably is a first round grade, but I think Dan Quinn will like having this absolute gas on the back end. And like we said, he hasn't got the most production, but decent size. He's primarily a zone cornerback. But he's had a good career there at Kentucky, perhaps without the production you'd want in terms of picks. But just very solid player and played on a good Bob Stoops defense there as well. So he's been well coached, and you just like what he can bring to the NFL as a speed merchant on the outside.
Look, people like Hairston. People in the NFL like Hairston. He could go in the first round. I just meant it's down the board as PFF have it ranked, but that
Yeah,
absolutely happened. I've seen him higher than that in mocks as well. To be fair.
yeah. All right.
Okay, the Bills do have a DB need, but I think Elam burnt them a bit a few years ago. That flopped. He's out of there. He's on the Cowboys now, Elam. So I think they realize they need somebody in their offensive front. They've been taking these big uglies defensive end. So that leads me to believe that they'll love this guy. Oh, how far down the board is he? My word!
Is
Oh,
it?
he's here. Here he is. Wait, no.
Oh, Shema.
Oh no,
No.
I'm in D line. That's why.
Oh,
Edge. Here we go. Shamar Stewart is who I was looking for. Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. I think he's going to go a lot higher than that in real life. Bafflingly, after only producing 6 sacks in 3 years at Texas A&M. But the thing about him is he's 6'6", 290 pounds, and
yeah,
he had the same athletic testing almost identically to Miles Garrett. It's actually freakish how similar they are athletically. Um,
yeah.
and I think someone in the NFL is going to gamble. They like these big men on the edge as well, rather than little speed rushers. So
Yeah.
I think Shamar Stewart, I think they'll also have the arrogance, that he'll have the arrogance, the coach there. He thinks he can train him up into a superstar. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Shamar Stewart there at 30.
I love that. Oof. Yeah, now we got the Chiefs. Yeah, I'm not. Oof, this is going to be a tough one here because most of the good tackle prospects are off the board, but I think we're going to have to go with someone anyway. So you can bring out the tackles. We can probably mock a tackle here to the Chiefs. I mean, interior defensive line could be a sneaky one if there's a player they like here.
Uh,
But let's have a look at tackle first.
is the phone ringing for Shador here anyway?
Maybe. Let's see who's left at tackle if we just go onto it, just so I can. Ooh, yeah. I mean, there's a bit of a drop off now.
Jackson's
Mm.
more of a guard anyway. I'm not sure about Jackson's at tackle. Might be a bit rich.
Yeah. I mean, we could be trading. Yeah. Or there's still the top rated DT hasn't gone yet by PFF. To be fair.
Yeah, the boy out of Ole Miss actually. That would be a really interesting pick for them for the Chiefs because you don't need somebody to play the run as much. Oh dear, getting my buttons all messed up there. Walton
Yeah,
O, yeah, he's an absolute pass rushing threat. He's gonna go before this, I think, in the real draft.
I think so. Yeah, but yeah, like you said, with the Chiefs, the depth on the run stuff and with Chris Jones and our various three techniques we bring in to help him, I do think Nolan could go well on the defense. So, oh, go on. If he's there, I think the Chiefs will draft him. Um, but yeah, otherwise they could be shipping this one.
So yeah, you can see lots of production in the SEC, 13 sacks in the last 2 years. There's just questions about his discipline, but he's good size as well. He's not undersized,
Yeah,
but much more of a pass rusher than a run defender at this point. But yeah, that's a good pick. That's a realistic pick.
yeah,
Um, so I think the Eagles have brought Nick Skoughton in to test. Uh, and to do a top 30 visit. So I could see that being the pick here. I think realistically, how he wants to trade down. We haven't got the most picks in this draft, so I think he would be looking for a trade down, and a Sanders team would come up here. I just don't
Ooh,
control any of those teams in this draft. I could see the Saints coming up here
yeah,
to make this play, but just to be interesting, I think for this, just to give the Eagles a player before we get out of here. I think the Eagles would be very interested in looking at Trey Amos here,
oh yeah,
back from Mississippi. Um, he's a little bit Marmite, but he's a very productive player against man and zone. Playing man and zone, which would give us the flexibility in our defense that we often like to deploy with Fanjo. Play a bit of off man and play a bit of zone. He's got good height.
mm,
Um, he's very much an outside corner, which means we get to keep DeJean in that slot star role. And we don't have to force anything at playing DeJean as an outside corner. So, yeah, I think I'm probably happy to take Amos here, get that extra year of contract control on a premium position.
no, the Eagles really buffing up the secondary
Yeah,
over the course of two drafts. That's lovely. Love to see that.
in real life though, I'm pretty confident they're going to try and trade down. So look for that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. The thing is, I don't know who they're trying to get ahead of if someone's going to draft a quarterback because the
The
Browns
Browns.
Browns are ahead of the Giants anyway, so maybe the Giants would trade in
Yeah,
spot.
but yeah, I think the Giants and the Saints, right? Would look
Yeah,
to come ahead of to get up ahead of the Browns at 33.
yeah, mm,
Uh, well, right? No, the
yeah.
Browns are at 34.
That could be the interesting scenario of who's
I
going
did
to
think
trade up, when
I
the
thought
move is made.
it's a bit unfortunate we kind of timed out there because I think I was going to really try and sell that to one of your QB needy teams, but yeah, we just sort of timed it. It's okay. The Eagles could stick and pick, so
Yeah,
some really good picks there. I really enjoyed that. It's always a fun exercise we do every year, so yeah, no, very enjoyable.
I like some of those top 10 trades as well. I think those are realistic, good
Yeah,
options.
yeah, no, absolutely, and some renegade picks from us as well. So good
Always
fun.
got something, but yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, lovely.
All right then. Well, then I think we'll for this year we'll sign off. I think we could probably do a post-draft recap show, some of our
Oh yeah,
favorite picks, and then see if any of our mock draft picks actually hit in the first round. That would be interesting.
that would be
Uh,
nice. Yeah,
yeah, and maybe we'll do that in a couple of weeks' time.
yeah, yeah. All right, sounds good.
Nice one. All right. Well, until then,
Yeah,
adieu. Go
go
well.
well.